Hi, everyone. I'm Mark,
And I'm Rob.
and you're listening to Mark and Rob's Sports Showdown. This is our 11th show, and I just want to remind everybody to like and subscribe down below, and feel free to make comments, of course. We now have 10 videos up, and it's
Woohoo!
all they're all on basketball, but we'll cover the NFL draft eventually, and we're going to cover the Olympics, but we're going to do football and basketball for you and miscellaneous stuff. But they're all sorted out for you according to different types of basketball, and you go to the website. So feel free to listen to them, tell your friends, and share the videos if you like them, and make some
Yep,
comments.
yep. Tell
Today
friends and
we
family.
were we're
Friends and family.
we're originally going to do one video, but today we're going to do two. This is our first one. We're going to do some Hall of Fame talk and our other video, so you'll see that also today. But there's so much happened in
Oh yeah.
24 to 48 hours
Yep.
that we have enough to talk about for a whole video. So the first big news is that Tara Vanderveer, who is the Stanford coach for 70, she's 70 years old, but she was the coach there for 45 years. She is retiring. She's the all-time winningest basketball coach in NCAA basketball history, men or women, with 1,216 victories, three more than Gino from Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And her winning percentage was 82%. And she had three championships, which makes her tied for third with Dawn Staley. And she has a great reputation as a person and as a coach. Anything you want to say about
I
that,
had a,
Rob?
I had a chance. I lived out in the Bay Area, so I had a chance to actually go down to Stanford and see some of the women's games. And actually, then I coached AAU basketball. And during the summer, Jennifer Azzi. I don't know if you remember Jennifer Azzi. She was hanging
She
out
was
in the gym, and I got to.
one of our most famous players.
Yeah, I got to like talk to her a little while before the games. It was pretty. I was pretty starstruck. But yeah, she's a great coach. During the Olympics, she brought the team together. She's overall, yeah, she was a great coach, very great coach.
Okay, yeah, and she's so great that she's obviously in the top five. I'm sure she's gonna end up somewhere between third and fifth because Gino's gonna be first, Pat Summitt's gonna be second, and then of course there's Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley. Those three are gonna be jockeying for third and fifth, I think.
I remember them even asking her. That I'm pretty sure they may have been asking her even if she wanted to coach the NBA, and she's like, "Oh no, no, I'm not doing that."
Well, she had a great career, and best of luck to her. I think she's a very classy woman, from what I understand. I don't know her personally, and good luck. And the sport will miss her.
There's a good. I think I can't remember what it was. It was on ESPN, and they did on the Olympic team. One with Don Staley was on it, and some other great players. And they were talking about how and they interviewed her, and she says, "Yeah, I was kind of hard on them a little bit, and the players were, on the players, and she kind of regretted some things she did, but in general, the players, they loved her. They loved her to go through the wall for her."
I think all five of those coaches have the reputation for being kind of tough coaches, tough on their players. And I guess you have to do that you have to do that to a certain extent. How tough you have to be to still be a great coach is a matter of opinion. I don't get the impression Phil Jackson wasn't overly tough on his players in terms of like that type of tough, but I'm sure.
Bobby Knight. I mean, he was. I
Well,
think
he was over the board tough, so
Yeah, he was
that's why
overboard.
Larry Bird didn't want to play for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, the ratings came in, and for the first time in history, by a
Mm-hmm.
large margin, the women. We already told you last video what the women had. They had 18.7, but we didn't know the men's video at the time. Viewership at the time. It was 14.8, which is obviously 3.9 million less viewers for average. And in addition to that, it surprisingly to me at least, it only went up 1.1 million. I thought it was a better matchup than last year. And in addition to that, the ratings were about 10% up for the whole tournament. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
little surprising. I thought they were going to get like somewhere between like 15 and 17 million, and they
No,
didn't.
it didn't, like I said, it didn't surprise me. You first, like you pointed out to me first. I said, well, no, it might be lower, but then you told me that, oh no, it's already up and it's only down. So I said, okay, I'll do 1 million more, and I was kind of accurate on that. So
All right. Right. So that is going to be the first time in history, but I think next year there's no chance of that happening. But leave that
so
is.
so you don't think maybe the women's game will out view the men's game next year?
No, that'll be the last time it happens until someone like Caitlin Clark comes around again.
I don't know. I mean, like
For
I
the
said,
finals game? No, I mean,
well, like we were talking
before it
about.
used to be 1 million to 20 million in some years.
Yeah, well, like we were talking about, you never know. I mean, since Caitlin Clark raised up the awareness and got more people viewing it, I think
It'll
it's
be
going
more
to.
than before Caitlin Clark came around, but it won't be. It
Yeah, I
won't
mean,
be. It
they'll
won't outdo
definitely,
the men.
they'll definitely lose some viewers for the women's game, but I think that the Caitlin Clark brought it up, and now I think people are going to tune into it more. Like I said, that they wouldn't have never tuned into it before.
I think they're going to tune into the WNBA whenever she plays. In fact,
Right.
that's our next story. She's
Right.
going in the WNBA. She's going to play for Indiana, and then we talked about Diana Taurasi and her little jealous little snide comment that she had yesterday. So we're not going to.
I gave. Oh, by the way, I gave her your number, so you'll probably get a call from her.
I picked on Diana Taurasi yesterday a little bit, and I'll probably do it again today because I think her comment was totally. She sounded like Cheryl Swoops to me with she plays against 18-year-olds when she plays.
Yeah,
18
that's
to 23-year-olds.
what bothered me also. Yes.
So, and then she had that little thing where she said some people it takes longer than others in order. She was hinting that it's going to take Caitlin Clark skills to transfer longer than her or someone else, which I don't think is true, especially offensively. No. We talked about that yesterday. Yeah. But be that as may, Phoenix. Their team, I don't know, probably someone in marketing has this sign up. You can look it up on the internet where it says Phoenix game, and it says the date playing against Indiana, which of course Caitlin Clark is going to be playing for them, barring an injury or anything. And I wrote the date down. I guess it's going to be. I
think it was the 20th, wasn't it?
June 30th. June 30th.
Oh, 30th, yeah.
Play again 2 more times in July and August, but that one game's going to be in Indiana. Those games are going to be in Indiana, and it says picture Diana Taurasi, and it says GOAT. And then there's a silhouette, basically jersey of Clark's. You can just say it's just 22. It doesn't really say her name, 22. So you know what it's saying. It's saying, okay, these two are going to play each other on June 30th. And
well, and also in the silhouette, it has her like towering over her, and then it has like Clark looking up. So she's kind of like
trying
to emphasize what she was saying, like, "Welcome to the league, and it's going to be tough for you to try to succeed in the league."
This reminds me of Jabbar, which was Lou Alcindor at the time, but Jabbar and Will Chamberlain. Now, if you don't know, Chamberlain was around 32 at the time that Jabbar came into the league. It was like 1970 or so. And Jabbar was the best college player of all time, and he was also at the time centers had an advantage even more than they do now. Mm-hmm. And he came in, and the first time they played against each other, Chamberlain kind of dominated him. It didn't go well for Jabbar. He wasn't used to that level of competition. But after that, Jabbar dominated Chamberlain most of the times they played for the rest of their career. And Chamberlain wasn't that old either. Like
no.
Jordan was the best player in the league at age 35, but Chamberlain wasn't. That year, Jabbar was second team All-Pro and Rookie of the Year, and Chamberlain didn't even make the All-Pro team. So Wes Unseld was first team All-Pro, if you want to know. He was the Rookie of the Year and MVP. The next year, Jabbar won a championship and was the MVP. In fact, it was the MVP the next 2 years.
Milwaukee Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks.
So it didn't take long for Jabbar to establish himself as better than an older Chamberlain. I'm not saying if you're a Chamberlain fan that he was better than I think he was, but it's not a fair comparison at that point because he was a little older. I don't think he was old. He wasn't at his peak, though, to be fair.
No.
I'll tell you that because when I do my rankings, I wait till the person's at least 32 years old before I do my rankings. I figure, well, they got to at least finish their peak years and their slightly post-peak years. So to be fair to Chamberlain. But anyways, it reminds me of that, like the matchups coming up. One person's older, not necessarily in their prime anymore, and the other one's young, and the other one's the greatest player, greatest center at that time, because I think Russell had just retired the year before. So it was Chamberlain was, they thought was the best player in the league, but it turns out Wes Unseld came in and got MVP that year, which is weird. But anyway, so I see this now, and Diana Taurasi is seen as an icon. She's seen as one of the greatest, NBA, WNBA players, one of the greatest women's basketball players, and one of the greatest college basketball players of all time. I don't think she's the greatest in any of those 3 categories, but some people think she is. I think she's overrated. But she's almost 42 years old. She'll be 42 years old in 2 months. She hasn't made an all-pro team in 4 years. 2020 is the last time she made it.
Okay.
And so I have my doubts whether she's even better than Caitlin Clark right now. I know that's blasphemy to Diana Taurasi's players, but she's almost 42 years old. She's way past her peak.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's great for her age because she keeps herself in great shape and she's just a great player.
Right. Uh-huh.
But I have my doubts. So, I mean, after what she said, like I said yesterday, I hope she drops 50 on her one of these 3 games. And Diana Taurasi's not a great defender. She's an average defender as far as
Taurasi won't be like she won't say, oh, let me guard. Like usually when you're playing pickup ball or something like that, and some guy's scoring a lot, you get somebody, I'll go, let me guard him. I'll shut him down. So I don't think she's going to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, because to be fairness to her, she's not going to have the energy level at her age.
Yeah, she's not going to.
And she's not going to have the speed that she used to have. So, I'm not comparing them who's better at WNBA overall if Taurasi was in her prime. But I don't even know if she should be in the Olympic team. She hasn't made an all-pro team in 4 years. There's only 12 players on the team. And she's not even in the top 10 3 years in a row. There's a couple. There might be 1 or 2 foreign players who were in the all-pro teams the last few years, but she only used to be in the top 12 of the U.S. players. I realize that.
If she is on the Olympic team, she'll be because of those sentimental value. That would be for a sentimental thing.
Yeah, I doubt she's one of the top 12 players.
Not for her player. It'd be for sentimental reasons.
I mean, but it's great. I think it's great that she was probably one of the top 12 players 4 years ago when she was 37 and almost probably 38 by the time the Olympics came around. Actually, it was a year after that because the Olympics was only 3 years ago because of COVID. So she would have been 38, 39. But either I think it's great that she was because, I'm not sure Michael Jordan would make the team when he was, when he came back. LeBron might still make it at 39. So I give her credit for that, for playing great, for every year. But and being her like the GOAT, especially the WNBA GOAT. And I looked this up and some people think she is. Some people put her in the top 5. There was one small poll by ESPN. There was 9 voters who were supposedly knowledgeable people, and she did come in first. But let me just point out to you, she played in 19 seasons. She had 1 MVP. Let me repeat that. 1 MVP. I know you can't just go by that because she might have been runner-up several times or in the top 3, whatever. But still, Kobe Bryant had 1 MVP, and nobody's claiming, other than like a delusional Lakers fan who's under the age of 30, thinks he's the GOAT of basketball because that's a fair comparison between him and Jordan wins in every statistical category and accomplishments there is, except for 3-point shooting. And even then, Kobe's only this much ahead of him. So Kobe's no way he's the GOAT. You might, if you're his fan, fine. You can put him second if you want. There's no way you can put him ahead of Jordan. It's a really easy comparison.
Yeah.
So that he only had 1 MVP. He maybe should have had 2 the second time that Steve Nash got the MVP, which that year was kind of funky.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I don't think he deserved it any other year.
Right.
So anyways, I looked this up too. So there was 3 WNBA players who have 3 MVPs. Cheryl Swoop, who has 3 MVPs and 4 titles and 3 finals MVPs.
Okay.
Lisa Leslie, by these first 3 all played 12 years, only 12 years as opposed to 19. Lisa Leslie has 3 MVPs, 2 titles, 2 finals MVPs in 12 years. And Lauren Jackson, who's from Australia, has 3 MVPs and 2 titles and 1 finals MVP. And she also has, which doesn't count, but she has 7 titles in the Australian League. So, there's also 5 players that had 2 MVPs, all with multiple titles. So I would admit to you that between 1 MVP and 2 MVPs isn't a lot to use that, but between 1 and 3, I think, is a significant number to consider.
Yeah, it's a little gap. Yeah.
So I mean, there is Cynthia Cooper, and she only played 4 years and then a couple games in her 5th year, and she had 4 titles and 4 finals MVPs. And 2 MVPs and 4 titles in 4 years.
Yeah, that Houston team was really tight. They were really good.
Right. Cynthia Cooper didn't get in the league till later. She was playing in Europe, and then the league started, and then she dominated. Candace Parker was Rookie of the Year and MVP as Rookie of the Year. She has 2 MVPs in 16 years, and she also had 3 titles and 1 finals MVP. And AJ Wilson and Brianna Stewart are still playing. They each have 2 titles and 2 MVPs, so we don't know how to rank them. Yeah. And Elena Deladonna, if I pronounce that right, I always forget her name. She has 2 MVPs also, but and she has a couple titles, but we don't know if she's retired or not. She's just not playing this year.
She plays for the local team here in Washington. The Washington.
Yeah, but she's not playing this year. It's my understanding. But she didn't initially. Give her final announcement for retirement. So I will in Deanna Taurasi's. I try to be really fair about this and objective. Every time I do something in sports, I go, okay, do I like the person or not like the person? And I obviously don't like Deanna Taurasi and think she's overrated, but she does do really well in win shares and PER. So I will say that's an argument. And she also had a long career with like 1 million, all-star appearances and all-pro selections, which I think is important because if you're not one of the top 5 players often in the league, you can't be the GOAT, in my opinion.
Right. That's correct.
So I'll give her credit. I don't know the exact number, but she has tons of them. So you can have your own opinion on that, but I'm not convinced she's the GOAT of the WNBA, the GOAT of women's basketball, who I still think is Cheryl Miller at this point, even though I think Caitlin Clark, the last 2 years of her career, played better than anyone in history. And I don't think you can make the GOAT that she's in college. Brianna Stewart and Cheryl Miller, I take Caitlin Clark. Even Candace Perkin, I would take over her. Candace Perkin was so good in college. Like I said, she got Rookie of the Year and MVP her first year in the league. So it indicates to you how good she was her senior year when she was playing in basketball.
And so does that also bring down Deanna's theory that you can't come in the league and make an impression? Right there, this shows you what you can do.
Well, I think I said yesterday there was 3 people, including Diana Taurasi. She was first team All-Pro. I give her credit for that, and also it shows that she knows that it isn't that tough because she made All-Pro the first year. Yes. And there was eight women who made second team All-Pro, and so that's 11 in just 27 years. Uh-huh. So yeah, it's a big gap. But if you're a great player, the gap's not as big as it seems. That's my only point about it.
Right, exactly. That's what we're saying, yeah.
So, okay, I don't want to pick on Diana Taurasi anymore, but I actually think the marketing thing was genius.
Yeah, I thought the marketing.
I've already got it on my calendar to take.
Yeah, I mean, until you showed me, I was like, oh, I hope some of you people watching us just look it up, and it's right away. You'll be like, wow, that's very good.
And I'm not blaming Diana Taurasi because I don't think she came up with the concept. I think,
like
I said, total marketing. I'm sure she approved it.
No, she probably loves it. I'm sure she loves it.
Oh, she has an ego. I know Caitlin Clark does too, but she has an ego.
I mean, just her looming over. I mean, like I said, her big, huge face and then the little small silhouette of Clark looking up at her is just that's perfect.
And if it wasn't for an ACL when she at age 26, we wouldn't even be talking about this. It would be Cheryl Miller because she would have dominated the league. She dominated all 4 years of college, and she was like the second best player in the country as a freshman after Ann Donovan. Then she was Player of the Year 3 years in a row, first team All-American 4 years in a row, 2 titles, and a third time she made the finals. And then she was the best player on all the international teams for 4 straight years from 1983 to 1986.
So Cheryl Miller got you into watching women's college basketball.
I never, what happened was I didn't watch the first 2 title games because when I didn't even know who she was till 1984 when I went to watch the Olympics. Uh-huh. And I was watching it and I was like, okay, let's we heard about Cheryl Miller. They already said she was Player of the Year and she had won 2 titles at that time. Uh-huh. And they said she's a great player. So I go, okay, I'll watch. And I watched every Olympic game that she was on, and I was totally blown away. She literally, I don't think I'm exaggerating, seemed like she was 1.5 times better than anybody else.
Oh, it was.
And Jordan was that same year, and I had watched some in college, but not a lot. Jordan, I said, wow, Jordan. Now that he has the freedom from Dean Smith, he looked unbelievable to me in the Olympics. Oh, yeah. Although he still wasn't scoring more than 20 points a game. Only Bobby Knight and Dean Smith could hold Michael Jordan to under 20 points.
Yeah. Bobby Knight.
Yeah. That's the game. But
that's another story.
So that's what we have for non-NBA. And the rest of the stuff is all NBA. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one other thing. John Calipari, obviously, this is 2 days ago, announced he was leaving Kentucky and he's going to Arkansas. He was there for 15 years. He had 1 championship and 4 Final Fours. But the last 3 years, they got knocked out really early. He got knocked out in the second round 3 years ago. He got knocked out against a 14th seed and then a 15th seed the last 2 years. So that was pretty embarrassing, I think.
Yeah, well, Kentucky's not really a hotbed for coaches for a long stay. There's a lot of coaches that were there, and Tubby Smith, Joe B. Hall. they don't really last too long at Kentucky. They're pretty tough. Like Texas is really into their football. Kentucky's they're into their basketball. So and I think it was a good move that he left, especially after these 2 years. Like he says that they need a new. It's time for a new change, or just for a change.
We have one correction from yesterday. Yesterday, or our last video that we did, Rob said that Michael Jordan was a lousy jump shooter when he came in the league, and I corrected him and said, no, he wasn't great at the time. And he goes, "Oh, look it up." He said, "Look up the percentages." So I did, because I knew he was a decent jump shooter when he entered the league. By his fourth full year, he was actually a very good jump shooter, and he shot 0.515%, which is actually really high for a guard his rookie year. So I just want us to be accurate. Rob at least admits he wasn't lousy right now. We want to give you intelligent, accurate, factual analysis.
How about not good?
I take not good. I won't take lousy or awful, because that's clearly not
awful. No, I didn't say.
And I corrected you yesterday.
No, I didn't say awful. I just said lousy. I didn't say awful. I think awful is worse.
You said lousy.
Yeah, I said lousy, but I didn't say awful. Don't put words in my mouth. Right. I didn't say awful.
He wasn't a great jump shooter. You can put whatever word you want, but not something.
I'll agree with not good.
Okay. So, anyways, we'll move on that. I just wanted to say, because people
you just want to be right. I know.
He didn't know what he's talking about. I go, yeah, he wasn't yesterday. Yeah, I agree that Rob didn't know what he's talking about yesterday. So I want to correct that. Just not say I'm right, but show that we want to give you accurate analysis if we're going to give you.
Plus, you just like to prove me wrong. That's okay.
Anyways, I did correct you, and you wouldn't listen. So the Lakers played the Warriors yesterday, and they won 134 to 120, and they had 26 threes. And they shot at 64%, almost 63.4. They were 26 for 41, and I think Curry was 6 for 6. Wow. And LeBron had a big game. He had 33 points. He was 14 for 22. He's 1 for 3 in threes, and like seven rebounds, 11 assists. He's playing great for his age, don't you think?
Yeah, he's playing well for his age. Not my favorite, again, as you know. I know what I call him, but I won't say what I call him here.
The reason we brought up the Lakers-Warriors game is because they are 9th and 10th right now, and that means they would play each other in the first round of the play-in. If you don't know, the play-in is the 7 plays the 8, the 9 plays the 10, and then if the 9 or 10 loses, they're out, and the loser of the 7-8 plays the winner of the 9-10. So if you're 7 or 8 seed, you got to lose twice in a row to get eliminated. Right. Yeah, the winner of the 7-8 seed gets the 7 seed, and then the 9 or 10 seed winner has to beat the loser of the 7-8 seed to get the 8th seed. So they're going to be playing each other.
If you look at the standings in both conferences, it's pretty tight. I mean, between I would say, especially in the East, my Knicks. Yeah, my Knicks are currently in 3rd place because they won last night. They're just like 1 game behind the Bucks, but then behind them, from 3rd to down to the 8th, there's anybody. If you go on, there's only 3 games left, but still, you could end up being from 3rd down to almost into a play-in game if you lose 3 straight and the other teams win 3 other games. So it's kind of a neat time, exciting time for both
I'm looking forward to the playoffs because they've expanded it to 20 games. They expanded it to all the series are best of 7, and so there's so many games. I don't watch a lot of regular season basketball, and because I watch so much football. And my theory behind it is, you know what? I'm going to see all the best player in the playoffs for as many games I want. I could tape as many games I want. Nowadays, you don't have the disadvantage of having to watch it live.
I think finally this is the only time during the year where the players actually kind of focus in and actually try to play defense and actually try to play hard, because during the season, I don't think they do it during the season, but this is a time I think that they start really focusing in. I'm like, okay, finally they're focusing on defense. They're not going to see 140 to 130 games in these playoffs. I don't think so.
Oh, one of the things about LeBron is that his 3-point shooting is way up this year, and so is his regular shooting percentage. And age 39, that's unbelievable. And it was at 50.6, and now it's 53.8 for 3-point just for shooting percentage in general. and it's 34.8 went up to 41.2, which is a huge gap. And I'm in shock because your legs get tired when you get older. But it turns out that I saw this article just today, and he changed his release to be quicker, and there was like biometrics. He changed it slightly over, and somehow, and he's healthier this year, and that's why he said his shooting's up. Anyways, what else will happen with the news? There was a basketball game between Boston and Milwaukee last night, and Boston shot no free throws, and Milwaukee shot
crazy.
2.
Yeah, that was
first
crazy.
time in history.
That was crazy. I watched the tail end of that game at the end.
Milwaukee won like 104-91, and there was actually 12 fouls, but called. So it wasn't like the refs didn't call any fouls. I guess the rest of them were all shooting fouls that weren't in the bonus. Which, if you don't know, you don't get any shots unless you're in the bonus. It's not a shooting foul. One other thing was Giannis got injured.
Right, he got so calf, and then I just saw an update on that. Is that they were worried that it might have been Achilles, which that would have been it. He would have been gone. But they said it's a left calf strain, and they're checking up on it. So we'll see how they'll see what happens. But
that's huge. I think I read they were doing an MRI today. So that's gonna obviously that would affect the playoffs immensely, at least in the East.
Oh yeah, because the Knicks. I mean, we lost Randall. We did a broadcast, and right after that, Randall was deemed gone for the season for my Knicks. And my take on that, being a Knicks fan, he's an all-star, and he's definitely a very good player, but sometimes it would drive me nuts with his turnovers, and he would hold on to the ball too much. So that kind of slowed down the offense for the Knicks. But now that he's not playing, if anybody's been watching the Knicks games, their assists have gone up. Just like last night, they had a number of assists that's gone up. So the ball moves a lot quicker when he's not in there. So, I mean, it's a disadvantage because he's a good rebounder, and he is a good, powerful post player, and he can shoot that three. But also on the other thing, he tries to be a guard when he gets a rebound. He has a lot of turnovers with passes and stuff. So I still think the Knicks are going to be the team to watch out for with Boston. I predict Boston and New York and watch out for your Phillies with Embiid back.
And Maxi's playing great. So
Maxi. So
you got to give him credit. He carried the team when Embiid was in.
Yeah. That's great.
He's going to be. He may turn into a superstar. He's got the athletic ability. He's so quick, and he seems to work on his game because he gets better every year. So I think I'm in Philadelphia, by the way. If anybody's listening, I didn't grow up here, but I live here, and I've been here for like 30 years. But I think the Sixers are happy with him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he
all
plays
the Sixers
hard.
Fans are.
Oh yeah, he plays very hard. I like the way he plays.
Right. So other thing was last night was Anthony Edwards dropped in 51 and 17 for 29 and 6 for 13 threes. He had a big game. And the reason that's big is because Karl Anthony Towns, they just announced yesterday. All this happened like yesterday, except Calipari was 2 days ago. Karl Anthony Towns is now practicing in 5x5 scrimmages, and they said that he should be ready before the playoffs, and he might play some regular season games. So he's going to be ready for the playoffs for sure. So the last time we did a video when we talked about the playoffs, we didn't know when he was coming back. Mm-hmm. So now it's clear he's coming back for the playoffs. So we'll talk about that in a second.
Would you play him? Oh, it's only 3 games left.
I'm not the doctor.
I mean, you might.
The doctor is the coach. I'm not. I don't. He knows how he feels too.
The only reason why you might play him is because that they're tied.
I'll play him one game just to maybe go in there and test it out.
Well, they're tied. They're
test it out in the last regular season game and the first playoff game.
Well, they're tied in the standings, so I mean that's the only reason why you might.
You don't want to risk getting injured, so I'll leave that up to the doctor.
Yeah.
I'd be tempted to play him in the last game though, but just so he's not coming out testing it in the first playoff game.
Yeah.
So with him back and Anthony Edwards seemingly maybe getting a peak position here in playing ability. I think he played great during the summer team.
He's good.
I'm taking them to make the Western Conference Finals and not OKC, even though I hesitate saying that. So we'll see. What do you think?
I'll go with how the standings are. I'll go with Minnesota And don't count out Denver because they've been there.
No, I said to the
Yeah.
Western Conference Finals. I still think Denver's going to lose to Boston in the finals.
Yeah.
I just didn't know who to predict between OKC and Minnesota when we did our last video because I didn't know that with the health situation with Karl Anthony Towns is one of their best players, obviously.
Okay.
So I would say that's what I'm going to do. Oh, one other thing that I forgot to say about Cheryl Swoops, she had the 3 MVPs and 4 titles and 3 finals MVPs and all that. She was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And I don't even like Cheryl Swoops after that crap that she pulled with Caitlin Clark. And so that's what I'm saying. I'm being, like you think I'm not being objective about Diana Taurasi. I'm praising Cheryl Swoops like crazy here because she you can make a good argument for her being as good as anybody in WNBA history. I don't even like her. So if you think I'm always being biased because I don't like a person, why would I be saying that about Cheryl Swoops is what I'm saying. Okay, which I understand if you're a Diana Taurasi or a Connecticut fan because whatever.
Okay, you jump from the NBA back to the WNBA.
I just wanted to point it out because I thought it was an important point that she was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Because if you're going to argue GOAT, you have to argue offense and defense. And Taurasi's a very average defender. And Jordan, the reason he's the GOAT is he was the best offensive player, at least tied with him and Chamberlain, and the best defensive player, at least tied or second with Bill Russell. And that's why he was the best player of all year, besides his ultra competitiveness.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to point that out. Okay. Anything else you want to add for today? If not, our next video is going to be on the Hall of Fame selections. What other people's chances are that weren't voted in? Should Michael Cooper have been voted in this time? And things of that nature. Otherwise, be sure to share the videos and like down below. Make some comments if you want. And subscribe. It's free. You just push the button. It'll notify you when our next video comes in. It gives you a choice on how to do that. You can get notified.
Yep. Tell your family and friends. Tell your family and friends about us.
And we appreciate that. And thanks for listening.
Thank you. Peace out.